Hello everyone, my name is Finding Pepper and welcome to the tile scrolling platformer expansion, where we are expanding on a tutorial series made by Griffpatch. This episode, we are finally adding moving platforms to our tile scrolling game. We can stand on them, we can move back and forth, they can push us, they can squish us. Anyways, let's get started. So first I'm going to go to my Access project and find TSPE moving platform sprite, and we don't have many assets this time, just two moving platform costumes. So I'm just going to drag this sprite into my backpack and head back over to our project. Alright, open up the backpack, drag them out. Then I'll drag my two costumes into the enemy sprite. Then we can delete this. Great. Okay, while we're here we can delete our old placeholder box costume. And I'm going to drag the wooden one into the tile sprite. We'll worry about the cloud one later. And I can delete my box from the tile sprite also. Now we've replaced that box sprite, so when I receive spawn type, we'll change our type to moving platform. And I'm going to say moving platform H1, and the H stands for horizontal, and the 1 is just number 1. Our width will be 48, unless you're using a different costume, and then it will be something different probably. I'm also going to make a vertical platform while we're here, so if tile type is 71, I'm going to set type moving platform V1, standing for vertical 1, with the same costume. And I'll go ahead into the tile sprite and duplicate this moving platform costume. I'm just going to add some simple arrows so we can tell in the editor what direction our moving platforms are moving in, and I'm holding the shift key to draw straight lines. Then I'll do the same for the vertical moving platform, and I'm converting these sprites to vectors. Great, now we can in the editor add one more line to the tile keymap list. This old line was for our box costume, but now it is one of the new moving platform costumes. When we run this, we should see that our old box gets turned into a moving platform. Except it isn't actually moving yet. I'm just going to delete these Goombas and place down a moving platform, just like this. Okay, it is very much not moving, although we can collide with it, which is good. It's also changing direction, which is not good. That's a small issue. So in enemy, I'm going to find the move enemy custom block. We're down at the bottom here. I'm going to say if type contains moving platform, then I will create a new custom block called tick moving platform. Run without screen refresh, and put the block right here. Alright, now we will begin coding this. I'll start by just pointing in direction 90, so we're always pointing the same way. Then I'll change frame by 1 each frame. And depending on what our frame variable is, this will determine what direction our platform is moving in at any given time. I'll make it loop back every 200 frames. So if frame is greater than 200, then we'll set frame back to 1. Now we'll do different things for our different types. So if type equals moving platform H1, then we'll get an if else. If frame is less than 101, so it's between 1 and 100, then we're going to be moving right. So we'll set speed x to 2. Then otherwise, we're moving the other direction, so we'll set speed x to -2. Of course, we're moving horizontally, so we'll set our speed y to 0, so we don't move vertically. Now for the moving platform V1, we'll essentially just replace all of our speed x's with speed y's and vice versa. And then set speed x to 0 rather than speed y. Then we'll finish by changing x by speed x and y by speed y. Great. Let's run the project and see what happens. So our platform is moving, and then it should turn back around. Great. And then when it gets over here, it should turn back around again. Alright, let's try standing on it. So we can still stand on it. We don't move with the platform, but we'll fix that. What if we jump into it? That works. Great. Now I'm going to place one on the ground and see what happens if we try to stand in its path. Put one like here. Aha! It just moves right through us. Let's try moving while we're inside, and we get teleported to either side of the moving platform. Why is this happening? Well, our collision is run based on Mario's speed. If Mario is moving left, he'll get pushed out to the right. If he's moving right, he'll get pushed out to the left, etc. But if he's not moving at all, we don't do collision on him. Mario isn't moving, it's the platform that's moving. So the platform is moving, so it's overlapping with him. And Mario is not acting on that collision. When Mario moves, you'll see then it does work, and we get pushed out. As you'll see, if we're just standing here, then we get teleported to the top. So we've got a few issues. And it turns out that a lot of them have a similar fix. So let's start with the problem that seems easiest to solve, having Mario stay on the moving platform and travel with it. I find it's often easiest to start with the problems that I have a good idea of how to fix. So let's go back into the Mario sprite and find the fix entity and collision direction block. We'll make two new variables to store the speed of the platform which Mario is standing on. Platform speed X for the sprite only, and platform speed Y for the sprite only. Now, at the top, we don't know if we've collided with anything, so we'll just set them both to 0. Now, if we have collided with something, we'll set platform speed X to item E number plus 5, because that's the speed X of the entity, and platform speed Y to E number plus 6. Great. Now we'll go to the Move Sprite X block. And then, rather than changing X by speed X, we'll change it by speed X plus platform speed X. So we're also moving by the speed of the platform. Now, when we fix collision here with speed X, we should also check speed X plus platform speed X, because that is the real speed that we're moving in. So just like this, in the two fixed collision blocks, speed X should be replaced with speed X plus platform speed X, as well as right here in this if statement. Now we'll do something similar in Move Sprite Y. Change Y by speed Y plus platform speed Y. And then in the fixed collision we'll do that. And in fixed entity collision we'll do that. Let's run our project and see what happens. So now, let's jump on top of it, and we should travel with our moving platform. Let's try getting pushed by the moving platform now. We teleport through it, and we'll see this happens even when we're just standing still. So collision is working now, but that's because we are setting the platform speed X when we're touching the platform here. Alright, so let's try to fix that. What is happening here? Well, essentially, when the platform moves into Mario, like this, Mario then has a platform speed of the direction of the platform. So, he has a platform speed of -2 right now. However, Mario is inside the platform, and his speed X is negative. That means that the collision system will think, he's moving to the left, so he needs to be pushed out to the right. That's because Mario is currently inside the platform. We need to make sure that when Move Player is broadcast, Mario is not inside a moving platform. So, the order in which things happen is that first we broadcast Move Player, then we broadcast Move Enemy. So that will move the platform inside Mario. Now Mario's inside the platform during the Move Player broadcast, and he gets pushed out the wrong direction. So we need a broadcast between the move enemy and move player. Perfect time for this is move player after enemy. We'll find when I receive move player after enemy, and we'll make a block called fix inside solid entity. Run without screen refresh, and we'll drop it right here before move camera and paint sprite. Okay, so we want to check if Mario is inside a solid entity, and if he is, then we're going to move him by the platform speed X, which should theoretically push him out of the platform. However, we need a way to check if Mario is inside a platform without doing anything to his position. So we'll make a block called check entity collision. Run without screen refresh, and then we're going to basically duplicate what we have here in this block. Now we're going to get rid of a bunch of things. We're going to keep our 4 collision checks here. However, we'll remove what's inside of them. Okay, we will also keep the set platform speed X and set platform speed Y variables, because we want to know the speed of the platform. However, we will remove the set them to 0 at the beginning. Now I'm going to go to fix inside solid entity, and we will use this block. We'll check entity collision, and then if solid is greater than 0, we've collided with an entity. So then we need to move out of the entity. We'll change X by platform speed X, and we'll change Y by platform speed Y. Now there's always the chance that when we get pushed out, we're actually still in a platform, and that these platform speed X and platform speed Y variables were not correct. So we'll check entity collision again, and if solid is still greater than 0, then we'll move back out to where we were. Okay, let's try this. So let's try getting pushed by the moving platform, and you'll see we do get successfully pushed. Let's try walking into it when it's moving away from us. Make sure that works fine, and it seems to. Great. Now I think we're ready to try vertical platforms also. Put one down. Let's try stepping on it, and look, this works also. Wonderful. We can collide with the bottom of it, and oh no! What happened there? We got smushed by the platform, but it didn't kill us, it just warped us straight out of the world, which in effect did kill us, but yeah, that time we just got teleported to the top of the platform. Alright, we'll fix that in a moment, but let's first just make sure that diagonal moving platforms also work. So let's go into take moving platform, and I'll just modify the vertical one, and I'll put my speed X in here, as well as speed Y. So we're setting both speed X and speed Y. Let's run this, and try writing the vertical the diagonal one. And look, we are sliding across it faster than it's moving. Twice the speed, in fact. That's awfully suspicious. It's almost like we're changing X by platform speed X twice. And we are, because this is fixing our X and Y position at the same time. So when it checks entity collision, and it sees that we are inside an entity, rather than trying to move us out by X first, and if that doesn't work, then trying to do it by Y, it's doing both at the same time, so it's pushing us out also in the X direction as well as the Y direction, when really we only need to be pushed out in the Y direction. So what we need to do is handle X and Y separately. So I'm going to first do the change X by platform speed X. I'll leave that there. Then check entity collision. Now if solid is greater than 0, then this was not successful in pushing us out of the moving platform. So we'll bring our change X by 0 minus platform speed X up to here. Then we'll try the Y direction. Drop the rest here. Changing Y, then checking collision, then moving back down if that doesn't work. Let's see. And now we are moving with our vertical platform at the correct speed. So watch what happens now when the platform starts going back down. Look, the player is sliding off the platform. Why is this happening? Well, this is because the platform is moving out from underneath the player, and then the player is no longer colliding with the platform. So, the platform speed x and platform speed y variables are getting set to 0 some of the time. If we watch it, they flash between 0 and -2. So we're sort of traveling with the platform, but only about half the speed, because it keeps moving out from under us, and then we're no longer colliding with it. So, let's create a new custom block called fix not following moving platform. Run with our screen refresh. Now I'm going to drop this right before fix inside solid entity, and I'll put this in an if editor is less than 1, just so we don't have any weird things happening while we're in the editor. Alright, I'll put this down at the bottom. Let's make some space, and I'll start by saying if our platform speed x and y are 0, and remember these were set during move player this frame, so if they are equal to 0, then we were not on a moving platform earlier this frame, so we do not need to worry about anything. So we'll stop the script. Now we'll use our check entity collision block, and this time we'll do something very similar to up here. In fact, I'll just duplicate it. This time we want to check if solid is less than 1 at the first check, because we want to check if we're not on a moving platform anymore. Then we'll first check our x, so we'll change x by platform speed x, check the entity collision, and if we are then colliding with the platform, then that's not the direction we need to fix. That direction's probably already fine. So we'll change x by 0 minus platform speed x, and then we'll try the y. So then we'll change y by platform speed y, and check the collision again, and then if we are colliding with the platform there, then that direction's also fine. So now we follow the platform just fine. Great, let's just check that this is working well. Awesome. However, it does not work so great on these moving platforms down here, because here we get pushed along it still at double speed. That's because we are not actually colliding with the moving platform here. We're just a tiny bit above it. To fix this, I'm just going to change y by -1 first, and then change y by 1 again after that. So we just move down a little bit, and if we are touching a platform, then we don't want to check collision because we're actually standing right on top of the platform. Sorry, I said set. I was confused why I kept dying when I was touching the moving platforms. No, we want to change y, just to be clear. Let's try that, and when we go back down, it should still work. It does. Now let's see about these ones down here. They also work great. Now, let's do some crushing. I'll do that inside the fix inside solid entity custom block, because it's sort of related to that. Now, I'll just do it below here. If we check inside this if solid is greater than 0, so if we are colliding with the solid entity, I'm going to check collisions with tiles, and if we have any collisions, then that means we should be crushed. However, those collisions will move our player. I'm going to use the org y variable to store our original y position, and then also make a variable org x for the sprite only, org x, to store our original x position. So we'll set these to x and y, and at the end, after we're done, we'll set x back to org x and y back to org y. Now in the middle, we want to check collisions in the 4 directions. So fix collision in direction the x of 1 and y of 0. Then we'll make a custom block called get crushed, run without screen refresh, and here we'll just check if the face collision indirection block moves us, then we've collided. So if our positions are not the same as they were, so if not x equals org x and y equals org y, then we will broadcast player lose life. Get crushed. Mario lose life. There we go. And we will use our get crushed block below this face collision. Now we'll check for the other 4 directions. -1, and then -1, 0, and then we have 0, 1, and 0, -1. Let's run this and try getting smushed between this platform and this pipe. And look, there we go. We die successfully. Now let's try getting smushed onto this platform here. Boop. Lovely. Ideally, we should be able to get crushed between it and this left wall also. And there we go. Wonderful. Now, let's see about those cloud platforms. I'll set our vertical platform back to a normal vertical moving platform. So we just set speed x to 0 rather than to 2 or -2 inside here. Now I'll drag the cloud costume into the tile sprite. Number 72, I'll add it in the tile keymap list with a 9. Then in enemy, spawn type, if tile type is 72, your numbers will probably be different, but we'll set moving platform H1, we'll do a horizontal moving platform, and we can use the same type because its behavior is the same, but we'll set its solidity to equals this time. If you remember, that is the shape for jump through platforms. So yes, this will be a jump through moving platform. If we run this, let's just check that we can indeed place our platform down. I'll get rid of these ones here. Place it down. And aha, I forgot to change the costume number. Change it to whatever costume your cloud platform is. Mine is 35, yours might be something different. Okay, here is our cloud platform. And this will not be able to be collided with because it has a different shape than hash. So let's modify collisions. So we'll start with the fixed entity and collision direction block. Modify this to be or hash or equals. Now here, down once we've actually collided, get an if else and put all of this in the else condition. If item ehash of entity positions equals. So it is a jump through platform. With an if, we need to make sure the correct conditions are true for the player to be able to collide with it. So we'll get an and. The left will put a not dy is greater than 0. So essentially we are staying still or moving downwards. We also need to check if the player's y is in the correct position, because the player could be way below the platform and moving down, and this would still trigger these collision scripts that we will put in soon. We get a greater, and we want to check that some y value is greater than another y value. The other y value will be at the top of the entity, so ey plus e height. Now the first value will be our y minus height, and then this isn't quite enough because this will make sure the bottom of our player is above the top of our cloud platform. However, when we collide with it, clearly we are overlapping with it a bit, so we need to subtract from it our speed y, because that's how far into the entity we would go, and then I'll just add 2 to this to give a little bit of buffer room. Put this here, and now inside we'll grab some collision scripts from below, and I'll use the set y if our dy is less than 0. So these should be what you have. Okay, let's try jumping through the platform. And now we can stand on top of it. However, we are sliding very quickly across it. That's because we haven't yet updated our check entity collision. So we'll do that now. Again, up here, rather than just checking for hash, we'll check with an OR, also for equals. Now, I'm going to duplicate this above code. And I'm going to remove all the bottom part of set y, as well as this one here. We don't want to set our y to anything. And we'll replace what's in here with this. Now, we don't have a dy input to this block, so I'll use our speed y variable. Okay, let's try this, and we should be able to jump through it and stand on top of it. Wonderful. We might also want to be able to drop through it using the down arrow. So to both of these blocks, I'll add an and, not key down arrow pressed. So if we're pressing the down arrow, we won't collide with it. Let's try this. So now we should be able to press the down arrow and we will fall right through. This mushroom reminds me, maybe we should check some things with our Big Mario just to make sure they're all working correctly. And yep, looks like they are. Wonderful. Let's test out diagonal moving platforms, or up and down moving platforms, just to make sure they work too. So I'll change this type to a V1. Let's just try this, and as you can see, this is not very smooth. We keep bobbing up and down. So in Mario, in our check entity collision custom block, we find where we add 2 to our y minus height minus speed y plus 2. Now the 2 gives a bit of buffer room, but we also need to add to that 2 the platform speed y, because if our platform is moving, we need a bit more buffer room to make it smooth. So now if we stand on it, it should be all nice and smooth. Great, wonderful, we have moving platforms. Next, let's test collisions between two moving platforms and see what happens then. So I've got two moving platforms here, and I'm going to stand on one and then walk into this other one, and I teleport through it. Alright, so I'm going to find the fix inside solid entity block. The purpose of this block is to fix the issue of teleporting through moving platforms like that. However, this only tests one platform at a time. So we need to modify this to check more than one platform. So a simple solution would be just to drop another fix inside solid entity block at the end of the block, inside the if solid is greater than 0. Make sure you put it inside or else it will loop forever. Let's see what happens now. Now we get pushed by the platform just fine. Now let's see what happens if we get squished by the platform. I'm going to put a platform up here. And now the game lags out quite a bit when we get smushed. Now this is because it is doing this over and over and over again. Solid keeps being greater than 0 because we are in between two platforms. So let's put a limit on how many times this can repeat before we get smushed. So I'm going to make a variable called loop count for this sprite only. Now, when I receive move player after enemy, we're going to set loop count to 0 before we fix inside solid entity. Now at the top of fix inside solid entity, we're going to change loop count by 1. Down at the bottom, we're going to surround the fixed inside solid entity with an if-else. If loop count is greater than 10, and then I'll put the fixed inside solid entity in the else, and the if check entity collision, and if solid is greater than 0, then we will broadcast Mario lose life. Run this. Let's stand in between the two platforms, and now we die when they crush us. That is perfect. Let's just test that we can still collide like this and we don't die. But we can die when we get smushed between them and the blocks. Great. Alright, I'm going to get some of our normally solid moving platforms, and then I'll place down a Goomba. See what happens. And yep, the Goomba teleports right through it, because we haven't updated the enemy collision scripts. See on top, yeah. They aren't moving with the platform. So, we can use our player collision script in the enemy sprite. So I'm going to just take this middle part of fixed entity collision and direction, and I'll drag it into enemy. And I will replace our old collision scripts with this. We can again remove the part checking for Mario equals mini, and just take this part out here. The y plus height is greater than ey minus e height. Of course, we don't want the entities to fall through the ground if the down arrow key is pressed, so we'll just leave it like that. And in the dy greater than 0, we can just take the else part of this if Mario equals mini. Now we need to modify move sprite x and move sprite y, changing x by speed x plus platform speed x, and then replacing this speed x plus platform speed x, this one here also, and this one here also. Now we do the same for speed y. Move sprite y, we do speed y plus platform speed y. So change y by speed y plus platform speed y. Replace this in the fixed collision and direction. dy should be speed y plus platform speed y. And fixed entity collision, same thing. Okay. Now this sort of works. However, there's still some issues. So let's make them flip if they get smushed. So I'm going to go to move player after enemy in the Mario sprite. Now I'm going to grab the check entity collision block and just drag the whole thing into the enemy sprite. We should modify it just like we did the fixed entity collision and direction block. Again, we'll remove the Mario equals mini stuff and just leave y plus height is greater than ey minus e height, and remove the down arrow check also, because otherwise the entities would fall through the semi-solid platforms if we press down arrow. Now let's go to the blocks we have in move player after enemy and drag the get crushed into enemy, as well as fix inside solid entity, and also fix not following moving platform. And rather than broadcasting Mario lose life here, we will use our flip block. Oh, also I noticed an error in the fix not following moving platform. This should be a platform speed y. Hopefully you've got that. Now we also need to use these blocks, so when I receive move player after enemy, fix not following moving platform, and fix inside solid entity. Run it, and they should get crushed when they hit the pipe. The moving platform is also getting crushed. It's crushing itself. We haven't prevented collisions between enemies and themselves. So, around this whole thing, we'll make sure we leave our change e number by data amount per entity at the bottom. we'll do an if not e number equals our entity ID. So making sure that we are not colliding with our same entity, and we will do that same thing in our check entity collision block. If, then here, then we go to the bottom and make sure this change e number is right just before the bottom. And now the platform should not get flipped when it touches the pipe. Awesome. Okay, let's make sure this works if we have vertical moving platforms. It does. Great. Aha! It looks like our main entity is having some problems. I think the reason this is happening is because we need to make sure type is greater than the empty value in the move player after enemy broadcast. Run the project just to refresh everything, and then this should now be working. Our mushrooms are no longer sliding off screen. Perfect. I'm gonna put 2 moving platforms down, see what happens. Woohoo! Yes, that is clearly not what we want to happen. So what is going on? Well, the issue is in our move player after enemy. Okay, so they're smushing themselves, or smushing each other rather. To fix this, I'll just say around here, if not, type contains moving platform. The thing is that moving platforms don't use our physics system. They just move back and forth regardless of collisions. So we shouldn't even be testing collisions on them in the first place here. Okay, so now they should work just fine. And now they go back and everything is good. Now, I'm a little curious about what would happen if we set our Goombas solidity to solid. Let's try it. Then, look at that. They turn around. We can still squish them. Luckily. I believe that's because their costume goes slightly above their actual height value, so we can still touch them. But yeah, if we're at the corner, then we no longer get smushed by them. So let's change it to a solidity of minus, and I'll let this minus solidity be something only other entities can collide with. And I'll do the same for the Koopa. Then we just go into our fix entity collision, and then we'll also, with an OR, check if item ehash of entity positions equals minus. And we're only doing this in the enemy sprite, so the player won't check collisions with them. And I'll do the same in our check entity collision block. Okay, run the project, and now should no longer be able to stand on the corner of them. Cool. But they should still be able to collide with each other. And they do. Good. Let's see what happens if we place down a Koopa now. So the Koopa collides with them, good, and turns around. Let's turn it into a Koopa shell and see what happens when we roll it. And you'll see the Koopa shell comes right back around when it hits the Goomba. We want it to be able to not turn around, we want it to just go straight through the Goomba. So we'll disable collisions between the Koopa and other enemies. Because we have a rather long conditional here, I'm going to replace this with a series of smaller ones. I'll set our temp variable, just a temporary value holder, to false. And then if I'll grab if ehash is hash or it equals, then we'll set temp to true. And then if it is minus, and then I'm going to use an and, not type equals shell, or type, we'll do type contains shell. Then I'll put this here, and we can just check if temp equals true. So it doesn't get so long. Now I'll do the same thing with the temp down in our check entity collision. And replace this with a if temp equals true. So let's test this. I'll jump on the Koopa, and boom, it goes great. Awesome. And we can check that our Koopa is say if we go here, our Koopa is still gliding with our Goombas and turning around. Wonderful. I never thought I would see the day when enemies interacted with each other like this. But yeah, it's really great to see. And also, this would be a much better way of doing the clone-to-clone collisions with the Koopa shell. We don't have time in this video to do that because, you know, our current system of visible works just fine as it is. It's just, it'd be a bit nicer if we used our new system for the deadly enemies. Alright, now, some lovely person in the comments pointed out that crouching does not work very well. So we're going to be fixing that now. Let me just show you what happens. Right now, we just physically cannot crouch under these things. They don't recognize that we are shorter. So that's our first thing to fix. That shouldn't be too hard. In Mario, under Fix Entity Collision, then Mario equals mini, wherever it says Mario equals mini, we'll replace it with a Mario equals mini or player action equals crouch. So there are a few places where we see Mario equals mini, but just wherever you see it, replace it. So there are two in this if statement, and then one down further down, and then same in the check entity collision custom block. There are two spots in this if statement. Great, now we should be able to crouch under the moving platform. Let's see what happens then. We can, let's stand up. Well, when we stand up, we die, because it thinks we need to be crushed. Makes sense, but that's not what we want to happen. So I'm going to go to the handle get up custom block, and I'm going to duplicate this code from the org y. So we're going to set org y to y, fix collision, and this time we're going to fix entity collision in direction dx0 dy1, and if solid is greater than 0, we'll do the same thing as we did here. Okay, we can try that out now. So we crouch, let's get up, and we cannot get up, and we do successfully slide. Now we are pushed by the moving platform a bit while we're sliding, but such is life. And that is it. We have done it. We have made moving platforms in our tile scrolling game. This is incredible. You know, I never thought this day would come. But it has, and not only that, but we've also made enemies that can collide with each other and then turn around. So that was pretty great too. If you've done the grabbable objects tutorial, you could totally use the solid entity code for your POW blocks. I'd recommend doing that. That would be pretty fun. Although I'm not sure, it might have some weird interactions with grabbing. But anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye!